Hi, everybody. Welcome. I see we're up to about 36 people on. We're going to just give people again a half a minute. We'll see what happens. Otherwise, we're going to get going. It does seem to be stabilized at 36. So I think what we're going to do is we'll start. So thanks to everybody for taking time out of your day. We do appreciate that. Time is expensive and it's constrained. So everybody taking time out to attend webinars like this, we truly do appreciate. I think we are going to retroactively try to get this one CE accredited. I'm not sure if we can provide retroactive CE credits, but you could certainly reach out and ask Lisa after. Before I make my opening comments as well, I just want to mention, please, at the bottom of your screen is the Q&A. The Q&A function. If you've got any questions during the talk, Jean-Marc, who's going to be presenting, has said, please ask your questions during his talk. He prefers to actually engage with the questions as we're moving and make it more fluid and conversational rather than just talking at everybody. So with that, I want to just quickly say, mental health is not a sales pitch. We've said this before. Unfortunately, in our industry, and I think in general, mental health has become a really great catch line that a lot of people are using both in our industry to be able to check a box to say, oh, yeah, we provide mental health services or it's included or whatever. However, on the execution side and the efficacy side, I think that our industry could do better at engaging people, ensuring that these tools are used properly, that the right tools are actually in place in all the different circumstances around supporting mental health. As some people have said, mental health is not just health, it's actually mental wellness. There's a spectrum of mental health issues. And in some cases, people are sound, really good. Mental health is intact. But then it becomes a thing of kind of personal training, being even better, executing better. And mental health does apply there. It's wellness. It applies there as well. Just the person's never fit enough. You don't get fit and then stop being fit. You continue to do your fitness training. So we put a lot of effort into curating partners that seem to have a reasonable value proposition that's differentiated in the marketplace, so that it's not just a checkbox that we're checking to say, oh yeah, we've got some EAPs you can work with, or we've got some whatever it is, but we're actually being kind of intentional about the partners that we bring to the table. The solution that we're going to be presenting today is not a per employee per month type solution for a workplace where someone signs up like that. This is a mental health marketplace, specifically cognitive behavioral therapy as a primary service type and therapeutic type that is delivered through CyVitality. But what we have is a dedicated link for our network for discounted pricing, or at least for preferred pricing for sessions. And that applies to everyone. The person does not have to be an employee of a group of ours in order to be able to make use of this tool. The advisors can, advisor spouses can, and everyone in our community could make use of this tool. We're all always in need of mental wellness support in one fashion or another. And so we're really pleased to bring forward CyVitality. What we found very striking about it, and I think Jean-Marc is going to talk to this, is the relative value of CBT as a newish comer to the mental health therapy set, and it's focused very much on outcomes, not necessarily on histories. So a very interesting discipline. And then the other part of it is that the folks at CyVitality are nothing short of remarkable. Just a really wonderful group of people. So with that, I think I've said enough. I'm going to introduce Jean-Marc now. Jean-Marc is the principal at CyVitality. I'll let him talk to you more about his qualifications if anyone wants those. But with that, I'm going to introduce Jean-Marc and give it over to you. It's all yours.
David, what a spectacular intro. Thank you so much for that. You make me blush. And thanks for everybody for being here today. We're going to have an interesting hour over here, and we're going to learn about how David mentioned, this is cutting edge. This is new technology. This is what are we doing in mental health to help our clients, to help our corporate clients, help everybody around us. So to get us in the mood, to get our minds wrapped around a little bit what we're going to talk about today, I'd love to get immediately your feedback. So I'm not going to wait till the end. By the way, as you know, before I continue, so I am Jean-Marc, it says so on the slide. And as David mentioned, interrupt as we go along. So if you have a question, click on the Q&A button, type your question up, and I want to answer them as we go along. So that's very important. But on that note, to start off, click on the chat button. So I want everyone to click on the chat button. That's the bottom of the screen, like underneath my, my rectangle over there. And I want to ask you all a question, which is, what are your clients? Whether your corporate clients or the families, the friends, your individual clients, anyone that you advise. What are their pain points when it comes to access to mental wellness, help? Whether it be therapy, psychotherapy, EAPs, whatever it is. What are your clients? What are they having difficulties with? What would they like more? What would they like improved? So you're there in the front lines listening to everyone. So please take a moment, and I want everyone to, so everyone, I know you're all out there, and if you're shy, don't worry, just type it out. And if you have, if your clients love everything that they're getting right now, just say they love it, they have no pain points, everything is fine. But if they do want, or if they have been asking you, or if they're wondering, or if you notice that there's something more to add, please type it out. So take a minute and type this out. I'll wait for you. Okay, so Winnie, thanks for asking me to ask the question again. So I want to know from all of you, all the advisors, when you talk with your clients, what are their needs for mental health? What are the pain points? What do they feel that they're lacking in the services they already have? What would they like more? Is it better access? Is it lower costs? Is it better quality therapists? Whatever it is. Because again, I want to make sure that I'm attending to your needs and to your needs of your clients. So far, we have some, and again, if you're taking time to answer, just keep on typing. So, this chat is not going to go away. But as I wait for everyone to write in your answers, and again, right, it's important for me to understand what you guys need. But I see here that, some people are saying that the AAP, the costs, the type of practitioner that the insurance covers, whether they have coverage or not, finding the right therapist is an issue. A lot of people complain about loneliness, isolation in retirement, availability, yet again, difficulties in discussing mental health as a normal health concern, as opposed to, there's a lot of stigma around it. I'm going to talk about that today. How to know what kind of therapist to get. That's a brilliant question. And finding an appointment, right? Are the resources good enough? Is it too expensive? So that's what I want to address today, because, and I'm sure you've seen so many talks about mental wellness, mental health, and the stats are always the same, right? And I know you've seen this 1,000 times, but it bears reminding. 1 in 3 Canadians experience a mental health issue. That's spectacular. That's, spectacularly horrible, right? That 1 out of every 3 people that you see in the streets, that you meet, your friends, your family, experience a mental health issue. But out of those, only 20% receive adequate support. That's a tragedy. And that's the gap that I'm going to talk about today. How come there's so many people that need help, and there's so much help available out there, and yet so few people ask for the help and receive the help? And for those of you that do group benefits and who cover employers and their employees, well, I think it's no surprise to hear that study after study shows the same thing. 40% of workers feel constantly stressed, not a little stressed, but constant stress. So I'm sure you've, again, seen this 1,000 times, all the stats about mental health and the cost in society, and there's all quoting billions of dollars. But that seems so large, so abstract, it's hard to understand. There's a great study they did last year, and they really looked at what is the exact cost to the employer of presenteeism. Presenteeism is when employees show up but they're not productive. They're there, they're clocking their hours, their employers see them at their desks, but they have mental issues, they have mental problems, depression, anxiety, relationship problems, you name it. And they're not as productive as they could be when they're feeling good. And that costs $7,600 per employee per year. And then there's the absenteeism cost, when they tap out. They say they can't handle it anymore. And they either go on burnout leave or extended benefits leave or whatever it is, or they call it for sick days. And that costs employers $2,500 per employee. We're talking close to $10,000 per year per employee out of the pockets of the employers. So when we talk about costs and ROI, it's important to understand that this is costing a lot. Again, we're not talking about general healthcare costs in Canada. We're talking about how much it costs the employer. So then we say, okay, so we're doing stuff about it. Now we're offering EAPs, we're offering paramedical, and we're working at it. But this is a very sad statistic. In 2019, Sun Life did a study, and they found that 25% of all long-term disability claims are related to mental health. Okay, that's terrible. That's 1 in 4. And over here we're talking about along with the heart attacks and the cancers and the and every other physical problem, a quarter of them are mental health related. They redid that survey in 2024, and now it's 40% of long-term disability claims that are related to mental health. So what's going on? If we're getting more and more attuned to the needs of our clients, we're saying, okay, things are going terrible. Let's offer more EAP. Let's offer more mental health services. Let's cover the employees better. Let's cover Canadians better. Then shouldn't we be seeing a reduction in mental health claims? Shouldn't we be getting healthier as a society? But we're not. It's getting worse. So there's something going on over here. So we have EAPs. Been around since the 80s, right? We say, okay, so let's EAPs, and we offer to all of our employees, and that'll solve the problem. Well, I think we all know the tragic statistic that only 10% of Canadians have access to their EAP actually use it. But we know from the other stats we just saw that 30 to 40% of Canadians, of employees, need services. So there's a huge gap. There's a huge gap, costing, of course, society millions and billions, but also costing employers $10,000 a year per employee. So then, employers and the VPs, HR, and decision makers starting to think, well, then should we just scrap EAPs? Well, no, right? Just because there's low usage doesn't mean we have to stop investing in mental health. So that's the trap. This is now the conversations we're having, right, with the decision makers. It's like, well, if people aren't using it enough, and if there's so many people that are sick and it's not being very helpful, no, keep the EAPs, keep them, and we're going to explain how what we're offering is something different than what we're already offering, right? So if we want different results, because the results so far are not stellar, they're not great. Things are getting worse in the mental health landscape in Canada. So we want different results, we need different solutions. And this is where we come in. Here's where Psych Vitality comes in. Here's where cognitive behavior therapy comes in. We're going to talk about that in a second. But Lisa is reminding me, right, that, use the Q&A. If you have questions as we go along, right, don't be shy. Type out your questions in the Q&A, and then David will pop up and interrupt me so we can answer them as we go along. So please don't be shy. So we've been talking about CBT now for a while, this acronym, this term. What is CBT, right? Well, CBT is cognitive behavior therapy. It is a psychotherapy. And I'm going to get very specific over here because up until now, everyone just figured, well, you need mental health, help. Well, get help, get therapy, get EAP, get support. people don't really understand until now. Right now, people are starting to understand that not all therapies, not all assistance is created equal. So be very attentive when clients, when EAPs, and when and the services and the products that you offer, when they talk about therapy or mental health coaching or counseling or support or assistance or those terms, right? That's not bad. That's good. People need that, right? When things are not going too well and they want a little bit of a boost, short term, it's good. But when we're talking about the 1 in 3 Canadians that have a mental illness problem, right, mental wellness problem, when we're talking about increasing productivity in the workplace, we're talking about those issues, depression, anxiety, burnout, then you need more than support, than assistance, than coaching. You need psychotherapy. And psychotherapy is a legally protected term. So you have to be very attentive. And now this is what the goal of this seminar is today, the webinar, is for us to better understand what are the products out there. So what are people, when we're talking about help for mental health, great, offer EAPs, offer support, offer assistance. We're helping with anxiety, depression. This is great. Let's get more specific now. We're in 2025 and we need to better help Canadians and our employees and our clients. And we have to be able to use the right terminology and to offer the right support. So psychotherapy is legally protected, right? And within psychotherapy, so meaning that you need to be licensed, right? And there's a lot of licenses out there. So you could be licensed to offer support. You could be licensed to offer coaching, right? So you got to ask, are you licensed to offer psychotherapy? And within psychotherapy, because there's many types of psychotherapy, are you licensed to provide cognitive behavior therapy? Because again, not all psychotherapies are created equal. So why am I ranting about CBT, right? Well, because this is the cutting edge. This is like the cutting edge technology of psychotherapy is cognitive behavior therapy. 30,000 scientific publications and counting. So this is empirically validated. It's evidence-based. It's not a guy with a theory, so let's do CBT, let's see if it works or not. Seems good. No, this is based in science and in fact. And it is goal-oriented. So it's very, very structured. And we focus on measurable results. Somebody comes in, they have depression, they have sadness, they have anxiety, they have burnout. We measure, okay, so how do you get you better? And we work on that. There's clear goals, it's personalized, and we work on cognitions, right? Because the C of CBT is cognition. So I work on your thoughts, because your thoughts affect your mood and your mental well-being, and your behaviors also focus your mood and your mental well-being. So and that's the B of CBT, cognitive behavior. And we aim to identify and understand and address those root causes, and you get rapid results. This is a short-term intervention. This is not like what you see in the movies, right? Because in the movies, they paint psychologists and therapists, as you walk into the clinic's office, you lie down on a couch, you talk about, your childhood. This is not CBT. CBT is based in the present. We identify clear goals. We'll get you better quickly. That's cognitive behavior therapy. And we follow progress. We track the progress. It's not just general. So we focus on results. And truly, when we talk about investing in psychotherapy, this is where you have the optimal return on investment. Because this is where the 30,000 studies come in, right? This is not just something that we cross our fingers, hope people get better. This is that there's proven effectiveness. As I mentioned, it's short term. In the movies, you talk about your mom, or you talk about your childhood, and you see your therapist 3 times a week for years. That's Hollywood therapy. In real life, when you use cognitive behavior therapy, it's short term. And you see results within weeks, 4 to 10 sessions, right? The average is about 5 or 6. Of course, it depends on the complexity of the problem, right? It depends on how many problems you want to improve. But you get results in the short term. And then you could ask, well, what does it help with? What does CBT help with? What could you improve with CBT? So this is very, very small font. You're not meant to be able to read this. But of course, you will get the PDF of this presentation after this talk. So you'll be able to read it at your leisure. But out of those 30,000 scientific articles, every problem that they've studied so far says CBT helps out. There's, of course, mental health problems like depression, anxiety, phobias, PTSD, burnout, you name it, anger management issues, stress management, sleep issues, everything, right? Eating disorders, weight loss, panic attack. Is spectacular form of therapy, cognitive behavior therapy. But it also helps for physical problems. And this is where people go like, what? How could CBT, how could talking to someone help their bodies? Well, it does. Well, it does, because we talk to them, and because of the link between the body and the brain, and something called psychoneuroimmunology, right? Our mood affects our brain, affects our neurotransmitters, affects our immunology, and it affects our bodies. So by using cognitive behavior techniques, we're able to treat chronic pain, insomnia, fibromyalgia, irritable bowel syndrome, cardiac rehabilitation, epilepsy. Again, huge list. I'll let you read it at your leisure, but this stuff works. And it works very, very well. And it's very important to understand that CBT is not only for mental illness, it's not only for when you're feeling bad, because very often people come to see us, and they should come a little bit earlier, right? There's this one like they're in close to burnout or in burnout, or they can't get out of bed anymore, or they're really having a terrible time. And it's usually their families and friends that say, hey, Jean-Marc, like maybe you should go, seek some help over here because you're not yourself anymore. But you have to understand that CBT is not only for therapy, not only to help somebody get better, but it's also for mental fitness. Just like, when you're feeling a little bit out of shape, you're not feeling bad, you're not ill, but physically you feel a little bit, you feel that you could do a little bit better, so you're going to get a personal trainer because you want to be fit. You want to have optimal health. Well, same thing with cognitive behavior therapy. You don't have to wait until you're crashed, until you can't work anymore, until you can't, perform your functions as you're supposed to. You don't have to wait for crisis mode. It's not only when you're feeling mentally unwell. You could feel mentally well and still use CBT to protect yourself, to get to optimal performance, and for prevention. So that when the situations get bad, that you're Teflon coated and you're able to address them properly. So I'm going on and on about psychotherapy. I'm going on and on about how psychotherapies are not all treated equal. And now CBT is what we're discussing today. Again, the most scientifically validated type of psychotherapy is CBT. And that's where we come in. Psy Vitality. We're also with Psy Montreal in Quebec, with Psy Vitality in the rest of Canada. So it's founded by myself and Dr. Liana Zazula back in 2003. So we're over 20 years we're doing this. And our fundamental goal was to offer high-level cognitive behavior therapy to all Canadians. That is our mission in life. And we're in Alberta, BC, Ontario, and Quebec, like the most populous provinces in Canada. And we didn't want to just offer therapy or coaching or assistance. We didn't want to only offer psychotherapy. We wanted to offer, of course, psychotherapy, because we have to be licensed to do this, legally protected. But we wanted to make sure that we're offering specialized cognitive behavior therapy. That's very rare. So not every clinic focuses like this, like we do. Because we know the science. We know what is very, very impactful. And, we're very proud that, so far 2,200 reviews, we're hovering at a 4.8, out of 5 rating. People enjoy this. People enjoy it because they see the value right away. They see that when they come through our doors, they're going to get help. And that's why they love cognitive behavior therapy. We have no wait lists, meaning that as demand grows, we just hire more therapists, psychotherapists. So you don't have to worry, right? If you're going to start, sharing the link that I'm going to talk to you about in a minute, and we get, a lot of new clients, we monitor this very closely because we don't want, and it's a tragedy as well, that when somebody needs high quality help, right, and they want a therapist, a psychotherapist, a psychologist, a social worker, and they want psychotherapy, and they go to a clinic, they go to a hospital, they go to whatever the resources, and they have to wait weeks or months for getting help. It's bad enough. If somebody needs help, they need it right away, right? It takes so much guts and courage to say, okay, I'm doing badly. I need some help over here. It's so discouraging to, we have an appointment for you in early January, when you're in like November. So we monitor it closely, and we want to make sure that there's no wait list, that we get you booked as quickly as possible. And again, our mission is to help people with the most scientifically validated tools. So brings us to, why did IDC choose PsyVitality? Because it's something that we're very proud of. That we're not generalists. We don't just, you don't come to us just to get any type of therapy. You're getting specialized cognitive behavior therapy. And it's regulated. It's not simply coaching. It's not simply assistance. It's not mental health. It's psychotherapy. We have fast access, that we pride ourselves in that you don't wait to get help. You could get help quickly. And what I'm going to show you in a minute, we have a very clean booking experience, very simple, because we don't want people having friction points. When you need help, I want you to get help right away. And sometimes passwords, you have to, call HR and what was it? No, this is clean and simple. We're going to tell you how. And of course, we're going to offer preferential pricing, to you and your clients, right? To everyone that you know. And we service, right? It's a service that people actually use. Because when we talk about, the utilization gap, it's because sometimes people feel that, they needed a lot of help and they're not really getting it quickly enough. Because sometimes there's hoops to jump through. You get immediate, very high quality service. People love it and they use it. David, you're interrupting me. I'm loving that.
There's a chat question in the chat. There's a question. Do you help people with BPT? Do you have DBT, which also comes under CBT? So, yeah.
So Matthew, spectacular question. Absolutely. So BPT is borderline personality disorder. It's a type of personality disorder. DBT is dialectical behavior therapy. So DBT is within the family of cognitive behavior therapy. So when we say we use cognitive behavior therapy, you have to understand that that's a family of types of therapies. It's always dealing with your cognitions and your behaviors. We have something called DBT, which is dialectical behavior therapy, something called ACT, which is acceptance and commitment therapy. We have motivational interviewing. We have mindfulness-based interventions. All that is within the family of CBT. So Matthew, thanks so much for your question. And please, everyone, don't be shy. Ask away. I'm here to answer your questions as we go along. So I want to show you the booking experience because, again, we spent a lot of time making sure that it's as frictionless as possible. And what you'll get, after the session, you'll get it within a few days. You're gonna get like an email with the actual link, but the link is, I mean, you could take it now. The link is idc.cyvitality.ca. That's the link. And please, for you, your family and friends, your clients, your corporate clients, your individual clients, their families, because of your association as advisors with IDC, you get this link. Use it as you wish. Share it with anyone you want. That's the added value now you're going to give to your friends and family, but also to your clients, be them corporate or individual or family clients. Because with this link, and please, by the way, use this link because that's where you get the discount. If you just go to cyvitality.ca, it's not discounted. So only with this link you get the discount. So please, mental note, use idc.cyvitality.ca. So let me show it with you. Let me just guide you along the process because we are quite happy with it. I'm going to share my screen for a moment. So when you type in, as you see on top here, idc.cyvitality.ca, you pick English or French, right? If you're in Quebec, you'll click French. If you're anywhere else, you'll click on English. Now let's say you click on Ontario. That's your province. And you could click either adolescent or adult. Let's go to adult psychotherapy. Then you have the list of problems you could be dealing with. So this is really an exhaustive list. Let's say you're suffering from relationship issues. Let's say you're having, hard time with your boss, a lot of arguments. Or let's say you're having conflicts with your wife. Then you click on next, and then you get the list of all the therapists that offer psychotherapy that could help you. So let's say you want to go with Amaka over here, one of our spectacular therapists, and you saw it was $150, and you click on I'm a new client. Right? Yes, you confirm it is the IDC service for the discounted rate. You confirm it is Amaka. Then you pick the time slot. Here we go. Next week, let's say, at 4 p.m., let's go for it. As simple as that. You enter in your name, you click on accept at the end, and you're done. And you get your first appointment with Amaka. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to really simplify access. And as you noticed, no messing around with an app. This works, of course, on mobile, as on your iPad, on your tablet, on desktop, no matter what you do. No passwords, no HR involvements. You get your appointment within days. That's what we want to do. Then, we got to step 3 here to choose a time slot. And then you go to the session. You could, you pay for it, use your credit card, and then you submit a claim to your insurer. And it's as simple as that. David, I love to get interrupted, so thank you for this. What's the next question?
Matthew again is asked a question. Just to yes, absolutely, to repeat, the idea of the relationship with Cyvitality has absolutely nothing to do with a plan. It's got to do with a community. So we are the IDC Win community, and we have a relationship with Cyvitality, offering access to their services with preferred rates because of our distribution capacity. It works. Certainly, we're promoting it to employer clients of ours, but it's got nothing to do with, it's not an EAP where the employer pays, say, $3 or $4 or $5 a month per employee, and then the employees get certain number of hours of access to a certain thing, and et cetera, and it's linked to that program. This is access to a marketplace of providers through Cyvitality at preferred rates in a very specific deliverable around CBT and associated psychotherapy. But it has nothing to do with the plan that the individual is with. And hopefully what it will also help do is that by providing a lower fee for service, that if they're going to be using their employer-sponsored benefit plan to pay for their mental health services, and let's say, for instance, they've got $500 for eligible practitioners for a year. So at $200 a session, they would have 2.5 sessions. But at the Cyvitality rate, they may have 4 or 5 sessions available to be paid for by their plan. So the two things are mutually exclusive. They have nothing to do with each other. other than the employee having the choice to use their benefit plan to pay for it where it's available.
David, spectacular. Thank you so much. And truly, that's the beauty of this, of how, IDC and Sun Vitality, how we collaborate, is that, the client pays up front. They get the, receipt for insurance purposes. Put that receipt, bring it wherever you want. And if you don't have insurance, it's okay. Then you pay yourself. You always get the discount because they know you, right? You're the advisor. You gave them that special link. So that's very important to know. Also important, and David, and I'm glad you reminded me to say something else in terms of prices. So we of course have our licensed therapists, right, and which offer psychotherapy, but also some clients have a small paramedical budget, for example, for psychotherapy, right? And we can make it stretch it even more because the client could choose. They could go with our licensed therapists, right, to offer they get psychotherapy, or they could go with our master's candidates, which is a spectacularly reduced rate. A master's candidate is someone who is just about to become a psychotherapist. They completed, their coursework, they're finishing their internship, they're on the cusp of getting fully accredited, but they're spectacular. Again, me and Dr. Zuzula, we handpick every single therapist in our network. So as David mentioned, they're curated, they're individually handpicked. Our guiding principle is, if we wouldn't trust this psychotherapist with a member of our family, with my father, with my daughter, with my aunt or uncle, I don't want them in our company. So all of our therapists are curated, they're handpicked. It's very important to know that. So you always get high quality. So you could pick blindfolded. All of our therapists are good. And same thing with our master's candidates. The beauty of master's candidates is that, like, an intern or a resident, who performs surgery at a hospital, they're performing surgeries at a hospital. They're a resident. They're just about to become fully licensed doctors, but they're supervised. So with us, again, if you want the licensed therapist, they're there and they're available. But if you want to make your dollar stretch a bit more, you get the master's candidate, much reduced rate, and their services are closely supervised by a licensed therapist. So it's co-signed by accredited licensed psychotherapist. Therefore, insurance companies pay for it. I believe most of them, very rare if they don't, but you can always check. But very, very usual that insurance companies will pay for the co-signed receipt, and you're getting two heads for the price of one. Not only the brilliant master's candidate who knows what they're doing and they're really on the ball, and their cases are being closely discussed with the licensed therapist. So I always say that you're getting two heads for the price of one. If you go for a master's candidate, you're getting a spectacularly reduced rate. But if you want also the fully licensed therapist, it's your choice. It's your choice. You get to spend your paramedical dollars the way you want to spend them. That puts the power back in the hands of your clients. And again, because Dr. Zuzula and I are so confident that our therapists are spectacular, we offer what we call a therapist match guarantee. And this is, I challenge any other clinic to, to do what we do, which is, if you go to your first session, if one of your clients goes to a first session, and I didn't really click with the therapist, and that could happen, right? Sometimes a client comes to see me and says, "Oh, Jean-Marc, your bald head shines too much in the screen, and I'd rather see somebody else." No problem, right? We offer a therapist match guarantee. So if you didn't like your first session with your therapist, you get your second session free of charge with another therapist. So you send us an email, you call us and say, "Hey, I met with Jean-Marc, had a first session. I'm not sure. It didn't quite click. Can I invoke the therapist match guarantee?" We say, absolutely. we offer them another therapist, and they see that second therapist free of charge. That's how much we believe in our services. And of course, this removes, the fear of trying. Because I've tried and I don't like it. What if I don't fit? Well, it's okay. You'll get another therapist if you didn't like the first one. So we remove the hesitation and the fear of trying out with a new therapist for the first time. And again, it's not because, the therapists are more or less good. It's that sometimes, different therapists have different type of personalities, and sometimes they may not, although they all do high quality cognitive behavior therapy, it may not click with a certain client, and that's okay. You get a second session free of charge. So as we're offering this across Canada, very often advisors come to us and say, Jean-Marc, I'm talking with my corporate clients, and they need clarification. They say they already have an EAP, so why should we bother with PsyVitality? Why should we bother partnering with PsyVitality? Why should we offer this as a service? So this is very important to understand that we're not trying to replace EAPs. EAPs have their place. Short-term support, sometimes it's 15 minutes, 20 minutes sessions, sometimes longer, sometimes a half hour, sometimes more, depends on your EAP and the plan they offer. Short-term also, it's not many sessions, it's sometimes a few number of sessions. And it's helpful sometimes for immediate guidance. But that's EAPs, and it has a place. If you're feeling a little bit, frazzled, or something, not quite right, and you want to just chit-chat somebody quickly, get, your mind off, that's great. But sometimes you want to go quickly with efficiency to get high quality psychotherapy without messing around in the system and trying to figure out what hoops to jump through and how many sessions you need to go through before you get something else. You want to go straight to CBT. So so there's EAP, and we work alongside the EAP. No competition over here, right? So, and we use the paramedical dogs. So, usually your, plans cover, chiropractic or physiotherapy or dentist or whatever, and they also offer psychology, and that's where we come in. And we provide the structured psychotherapy by licensed therapists, but again, not just any type of licensed therapist. Licensed therapist that provides cognitive behavior therapy with measurable results when clients need something deeper and something quickly. And together with our CBT and with the APs that many employers have, that forms the complete support pathway. This was the missing link. When we talked about the utilization gap, we're talking about how come APs been out since the 80s. So why aren't we seeing a decrease in mental health issues, right? If it's been around since the 80s, and if this was, well, it's because there was this missing piece of the puzzle, and it's called cognitive behavior therapy. So when to use it, right? So I already, mentioned, whether it's mental issues or physical issues, we're here for you. But there's some common things, right? Like work stress, burnout, depression, sadness, right? Low motivation. But remember, it's not only when you're feeling mentally unwell, because we're talking about mental wellness over here and mental fitness. It could also be just having some problems focusing. Well, we have techniques for that, right? Reactions to workplace change, as if we're not all living through a lot of changes, in our world in the last, 6-7 years. And performance enhancement. So a lot of our clients as well, and corporate clients, use us for, their leadership and for corporate coaching, and and try to get them to feel better and to have better tools and techniques so they can communicate better, because we teach communication skills so that employees and employers can communicate better, management and teams can communicate better. So regardless of the problem, CBT is there to meet clients where they actually are. So when should you use it, right, as an advisor? Well, it's just use it with everyone. Use it with anyone, right? So it's whether they're dealing with mental illness, whether they want to improve mental fitness, whether people, your clients are navigating stress, conflict, supporting employees, whatever it is. And the feedback we get, right, over and over again, is that this is something clients actually appreciate. People really love CBT. So when you try it, you see, wow, this is not what I expected. This is helpful. I see the light at the end of the tunnel. And that's what we're doing. So what's the added value for you? Right? So you as advisors, why should you be offering? Why should you now add this? Share this link with your clients, with the corporate, with your friends, your family, and you use it yourself. Anyone could use it, right? That's the advantage of your association with IDC. What's the benefit? Well, one, and I think that you may be, I'm sure that you're, the sparks, are connecting, right, in your minds. But I want to connect the sparks along with you, because I want you to be able to differentiate your services. This is very special, that now you could offer your clients this link for a discount for psychotherapy to clinics, and for the biggest provinces in Canada, where you will be guaranteed very high quality cognitive behavior therapy without the wait list. By doing so, now you get re-engagement from your existing clients, right? You'll be able to retain your clients more effectively, because at renewal time, right, you'll say, hey, this is something new. This is something, this is the high tech of psychotherapy now, high tech of therapy. Now we're able to offer it to you guys. What do you think? You're able to strengthen your relationships with your clients. The clients will get immediate value immediately, high value immediately. They don't have to wait for this. There's no like blackout period. They can start using this right away. And you're going to see that the businesses you deal with, the families you deal with, they're going to appreciate having access, because so many of the clients and the corporate clients and the people that we talk to complain that it's so hard to find the right help. I mean, if you were yourself trying to find a top quality therapist because you're feeling sad or depressed, or you want to enhance your performance, and you Google it or use ChatGPT to try to find something, it's a jungle out there. How would you know if you didn't know that CBT has 30,000 scientific publications saying that it works? How would you know that psychotherapy is something different than mental health coaching or counseling or advising or support? Well, now you know. Now you know. Now you could educate your clients to know the difference as well. And the beauty, it costs nothing to offer. IDC doesn't have to pay for this. You as an advisor have to pay for this. This comes at, it's your clients pay up front with a credit card. They get reimbursed by their insurance plan, whichever insurance plan they have. And even if they don't have an insurance plan, well, they're still getting the discount and they're paying out of pocket. I love talking about ROI. I love talking about like why invest. Why should you take the time to promote cognitive behavior therapy, IDC's association with PsyVitality? Why should you promote it? Well, before I answer that, I want David to interrupt me and ask me a question.
Well, there's a question there's actually two. Am I able to share this with non-clients? I mean, from our perspective, we've put this program together in partnership with PsyVitality for our advisors, for their clients, etc. And so if there's a use for you in terms of your marketing efforts as a differentiator, I'm sure it's fine if you were to use that as well for others, but I would leave Jean-Marc to answer that. And then there's a question: can someone that is not a resident of the province you operate in access your services? And so that's a licensing question, I guess. So I'll leave that both to you.
Okay, thank you. So the question of, operate in the four biggest provinces, the four most populous provinces. So right now, legally, because CBT is violated, right? We need to be like those. So we have an eye on expanding our services to the other provinces. So if you have, a lot of demand in certain provinces, let IDC know. They'll tell us, right? If there's enough demand in certain provinces that we don't operate in, then we could very happily increase, expand our coverage. So again, contact IDC, and then we could try to work with you guys and see how to make that work. It depends, of course, on how many people would be interested in a certain province, but we're very open and very flexible to that. So that's for one question. And the other question I see in the chat is maybe a good idea to add time zones that are accurate outside the provinces. Well, the spectacular beauty of our system is that it automatically adjusts for the time zone. So it's like with your IP address, right? So if you're physically in Pacific, or if you're Pacific time zone, or physically in the Atlantic time zone, the calendar adjusts automatically. So it's not an issue. The system automatically adjusts for the time zone. But great question, Rob. Thank you for that. Well, I'm wrapping up over here. So what to do next, right? As advisors, please use your link. Share it with everyone, as David mentioned, right? Individuals, business owners, employers, friends, families, yourself. It's for you to use. Mention the preferential pricing, and it's important to normalize help, because it used to be, once upon a time, where it was taboo to say, I need help with my mental health. Well, nowadays, it's taboo to not seek help. It's now becoming taboo to not seek help. People say, what do you mean? You're depressed and anxious with panic attacks and you haven't seen a psychologist yet? You haven't seen a psychotherapist yet? What's going on? Go get help. So normalize it. There's still some people that have a little bit of a hesitation, but it's mental fitness. And of course, follow up after you share the link and say, hey, did you use it? Because sometimes people are a bit shy. So the key takeaways. Oh, David, another question.
No, go ahead. I'm just here to help wrap up.
Yeah, so the key takeaways, right? So there's no argument, so no need to get into a confusion. Is this EAP, not EAP? Maintain the EAP. We're not trying to replace the EAPs, but add the CBT offering. Now we have the hybrid payment model. Use the paramedical to pay for us, or the client pays out of their pockets. It's fine. And and also, David, we could talk about the mental health first aid trainings for corporations. This is something we're going to talk at later dates, and you'll be getting some emails about that later on. And that the status quo is no longer viable. If we're really serious about helping our clients with mental health, offering them the same old, we've been offering them for decades, it's not enough anymore. It's never been enough. If you want to decrease the rates of problems in Canada in your clients, do something different. Talk about CBT. Not all services are created equal. David, on to you.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Jean-Marc. I hope everybody on the line has found value in this. Again, from my perspective as totally a layperson, I'm certainly not a mental health professional, but mental health is a spectrum. It's not just a chronic condition or an acute situation that needs to be dealt with. It's a spectrum of everything from high functioning, effective people who need additional coaching to be more effective, to maximize their capabilities. But obviously, we want to take care of people who are somewhere on the spectrum of having mental health issues that are somewhat to seriously debilitating, and to that end, I think that the CBT offers a very interesting pathway forward, and so we're really pleased to bring solutions like this forward. You will be getting a link in an email, the link in an email in the next day or so. I'm not exactly sure. Lisa will be sending that out, but I think we're going to pop it up in the chat now as well, just so that you've got that too. And thank you everybody for attending. Jean-Marc, again, thank you for an outstanding presentation. Folks, stay tuned because there will be more from Jean-Marc and from CyVitality over the coming months.
David, thanks to you and thanks to IDC for this opportunity. And everyone, have yourselves a wonderful day. Thanks so much.